Hey, it's your favorite undead dragon racer here to talk to you about proper racing posture today. I know what you're thinking, there's nothing you can do about the way your character's sitting on the dragon, but it's actually you at your desk need to have proper posture when you're doing these races because there are literally hundreds of them. And if you expect to beat all of them with gold without messing up your wrists, there's a few things that you need to pay attention to. The first thing is your arms. You want your arms to be at parallel to each other and your elbows bent at a 90-degree angle. You also want to make sure your elbows aren't tucked in too closely or spread too far apart. If you've done a lot of racing and noticed that your wrist or your shoulder or your elbow have started to get tired, you probably have an issue with your racing posture. When I first started these, I messed up my wrists so bad that I had to take a 2-week break. It was very frustrating, and I hope to never have to do that again. But nowadays I can go several hours a day without needing to take a break because I've got everything set up. I have proper elbow support. You don't want your elbows hanging off your desk. You get some kind of armrests or something to support those. I also find that it helps me to have a wrist rest for each wrist. I've got even just like a thick bracelet on your wrist is enough to mitigate some of the problems that you'll have without having wrist support. A lot of people like those gel pads, those gel wrist supports. I don't have one that's quite that nice, and sometimes my wrist does get a little bit tired, especially my mouse hand. But for that, I like to keep a little ice pack on hand. I know what you're thinking, I'm not injured, why do I need ice? But if you're starting to feel tired in that wrist, and you just kind of set it on an ice pack in between races, you'll be able to race for so much longer without getting strain in that. Every time that you start feeling muscle strain after racing, you need to stick some ice on that, even if it's only for, a couple of seconds. If you get too tired doing these races and you push yourself past your limit, you may not be able to race until you've completely recovered. Another thing that you should do periodically is hand stretches. I like to stretch each individual finger back independently. I also have a few things that I learned while working in medical manufacturing while using my hands all day. You can find good hand and arm stretches pretty much anywhere on a Google search. Don't be afraid to stretch everything all the way up to your elbows. The more limber you are, limber and loose, the easier it's going to be for you to race for a long time without hurting yourself. Probably the most important tip in order to keep racing long enough to finish all of these at gold is to take breaks. You'll get to a point where you'll start seeing your race times decrease. You'll start getting worse. And if you do that, you've been racing for long. I guarantee if you walk away from a race that you're almost there, but you keep making mistakes, if you walk away and come back to that, you will be so much better as soon as you come back. Sometimes I've hit it like my first or second try after a break. Another very important tip for reducing wrist strain is to make sure that your mouse settings are correct. First of all, you want to make sure that your mouse sensitivity is at a level that's comfortable for you. I personally have a Red Dragon mouse that's got those little weights inside, and I can make it the exact weight that is comfortable for my hand to move. I'm really just barely moving my fingers at all when I'm turning my dragon. basically you should be able to turn 180 degrees without turning your fingers more than about 5 degrees, maybe 10 degrees. Another thing that I struggled with when I first started dragon racing was just my arms tensing up as I would race. I think most of the injury I caused to my shoulder is because I was just tensing up and I wasn't paying attention to it. And pretty soon I'd been sitting there with my shoulder tense for a couple of hours, and it just isn't good for your muscles to be tense all the time. Make sure you like shake out your hands and your arms in between races, especially if you're having trouble with a tight turn. Just try to stay limber, and definitely don't let yourself tense up while you race. Also make sure to keep your back pretty straight. Don't try to lean forward over your desk. If you have a reclining chair, that might not be the best posture for you either. Just do what feels most comfortable. I guess the biggest rule is if it hurts after an hour of racing, then you need to change something. Oh my gosh, these guys are so cute. They've got their own little racing setup. That's amazing.